All right, so let's kind of go through player by player the young guys. And Alex Sarr so far is the headliner, drafted number 2. You've watched him every game. Obviously, he's shown some signs. Could even be Rookie of the Year. What have you seen as development, and what kind of player can he be down the road, do you think?
So right away, the shot blocking stood out. I mean, he came out of the gate with the longest streak of multi-block games since Sean Bradley in the early 90s. So he proved right away that he could block shots. And I think we've seen those numbers go down over the past month plus because the scouting report got out on him, and now teams don't really test him as much as they did at the rim. But his effect on the defense overall has been pretty profound. For instance, the Wizards, they're much better at defending the three-point line when he's on the court because he's got so much range and his arms are so long, he can close out to the three-point line. So you got to be pretty excited about that. Offensively, he's kind of a perimeter player. So it's a matter of whether his threes are going in. He's been a little bit streaky there, but he's gotten a little bit better at finishing around the rim. If I had to give a comparison of what he could be someday, I look at guys like Miles Turner and Kristaps Porzingis, good shot blocking big men who are also good at making threes. And Kristaps Porzingis was an all-star. Turner has led the league in blocks a few times and has been a borderline all-star. So I think that's the type of player he could develop into because shooting from the outside and blocking shots, that's his game.
All right, so what about Bub Carrington? A couple of us are really high on Bub. What have you seen from him? He's very young.
Yes, he was 18 when the Wizards drafted him. He's really impressive off the dribble, especially creating his own shot. He makes a ton of pull-up threes. He's the best player in this class, this rookie class, at doing that. And you could actually go pretty far back. It was 20 games into the season, and he had the most made pull-up threes of any Wizards rookie since they started tracking the data, which was 10, 11 years ago. So it's pretty rare to see a guy come into the league and immediately be able to shoot off the dribble like that. Usually guys start by making catch-and-shoot threes, and then they start, being able to shoot off the dribble. But he's had that. He's also got good size for his position. I think he's one of the most competitive players on the team. You hear the kind of dog mentality term thrown around. I think he really embodies that, and the Wizards really like the fact that not only is he competitive, but he's also a trash talker. There's a story my colleague Bijan Todd did about how him and Keyshawn George were trash-talking Draymond Green in the first meeting against the Warriors. So
wow.
I think that tells you everything you need to know about him.
So what's the deal with Sarr's ankle? When do you expect him back? He hadn't played since the 27th of January, I believe. He's been out for a while.
Yeah, as far as we know, it's still day-to-day. The Wizards really starting last season became a lot more protective of injury information.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Brogdon returning the other day, we didn't know that was really going to happen. There's a lot of gamesmanship going on, I'll say. But with him, he's missed a handful of games. He had an MRI on his ankle that didn't, I think, alert them to anything too serious. So, now that they've traded Jonas Valanciunas, I think that it's probably a good indication they don't think it's a serious injury, although Rashawn Holmes obviously stepped in. So I would expect him to be back sometime on this upcoming homestand.
Chase, do you foresee any more moves? If you're over 30 and you make any decent money, I would assume you could be sent packing. You mentioned Rashawn Holmes. He comes in with a $12.6 million salary. I mean, you wouldn't get much for him. I can't believe there'd be a lot of interest. But any other names you think are on the move today?
Yeah, Holmes now I think fits in kind of nicely to their rotation with Valanciunas gone because they needed to backfill that a little bit. I mean, the track that they followed the last few years is just the veteran players. If they are going to trade for anything, it's draft picks or young players. So, guys like Malcolm Brogdon and Bagley who are on expiring deals, certainly those are names to watch. But, they just had a pretty busy day yesterday. So we'll see, the dust has settled. Maybe they feel like they've got some needs that they need to fill. But I think in general, just, expect them to follow that same plan, which is if they do bring in veterans, it's financial flexibility. And for the most part, they're just looking for future assets.